Hello, everyone. We are kicking off our live broadcast Meet the Adjudicator series just a little bit earlier. We could not wait to have Mark with us. We're absolutely thrilled that he managed to make some time during this busy holiday season and his crazy schedule as well to be with us and to actually allow you guys a chance to ask him any questions. I know that when we had Jennifer Nichols and Jeff Dimitriou, the Meet the Adjudicator series was a great success, and you guys loved having them on live, so you can interact with them and ask them questions, and hopefully their tips were helpful to you guys. And I'm loving how the DAT project is coming together. The adjudicating panel has now been finalized, and we are absolutely blessed to have Mr. Mark Samuels joining the adjudicating panel for DAT Project A. For those of you guys that don't quite know what the project is about, or maybe you're just tuning in, or have seen a lot of the memorabilia and a lot of the logos, but have not quite understood what it's about, I'm going to do a quick video reel to get you guys excited and make sure you kind of are on the same page with us as we go into this Facebook Live with Mr. Mark Samuels, where you have the full disposal to ask away any questions that you may have and hear all about what he will be looking for dancers in the DAT project. So take a look. There we go. All right, so now you guys have a little bit of a better feel for hopefully what the project is about. If you can also visit the website at www.datproject.ca to get a little bit of a better understanding. Now, before we go into bringing Mark Samuels on board, I'd like to just acknowledge the incredible accomplishments of this individual. And once again, you're seeing the Meet the Adjudicator series. Now, Mr. Mark Samuels has really been a celebrity and performer, choreographer, producer all across the spectrum of the industry, which is why it's so exciting that he's able to join us. Not only has he been a dancer for celebrity artists like Missy Elliot, like Mariah Carey, many others, Shawn Desman. He's also performed at the JUNO Awards, at So You Think You Can Dance Canada, MMVAs, and he's choreographed some of the top films and music videos for really the top performers. He's the head choreographer for Ricky Martin's award-winning boy band CNCO, and alongside Paul Becker, he has also choreographed Disney's The Descendants and Netflix's Grand Army and The Magicians, and the list goes on and on and on. His full bio is on the DAT website. And without further ado, I am very, very thrilled to bring live Mr. Mark Samuels.
Hi, what's up, everybody? Hi, Kat. How are you?
How's it going? Thanks for joining me, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, look, I bet all of everyone's excited to hear all about you. First of all, I'm sure there's a ton of people that know obviously what you're about and have worked with you and have had the pleasure of working with you, but also a lot of the dancers, because of the nature of the DAT project, who maybe come from the jazz world or the ballet world or the Latin ballroom world, like myself, and so they might not be as familiar with you. So maybe if you could, to start, give a really brief intro about yourself, about what you've done and things you've accomplished, and go from there.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Mark Samuels. I've been in the dance industry for about 25 years. I started off dancing in a group of dancers, and we were trained by a choreographer named Luther Brown. He was one of the,
he's awesome.
yeah, you know Luther? Okay, yeah. He was one of the judges on So You Think You Could Dance Canada. He's actually currently one of the judges on So You Think You Could Dance US. And he choreographed for the show too. He's done just fantastic for himself. So he's went on to do some really crazy things.
Yeah, he was part of DAT Entertainment, right? I think.
Yes, yeah. The group I was part of was called DAT, and he was the lead choreographer for that. And so I trained under him for the beginning part of my career. I would say a good like 15 years, maybe. So a really long time. And then he went to LA. I stayed here in Toronto, and I ended up meeting another choreographer by the name of Paul Becker, who is really, I would say, well known in the TV and film world. And we just kind of hit it off, really well. And he brought me on to do a bunch of really incredible things that I can go through, after, if you'd like to know, in terms of like my accomplishments. But yeah, hip hop is my thing. And
yeah, and I think what's great as I was reading through your CV, which was, thank you for sending that over. It was really nice to, I guess what was helpful for me to know and impressive is that you really went through being a performer, being a dancer,
right,
being a choreographer, both for productions, stage shows, as well as TV and film, which I think are three areas that, commercial dancers, once they get out of, let's say, a pure competitive program, they're looking to branch out into exactly those three avenues, right? Whether it's stage shows or productions or TV and film. And so, I think you have a lot to share with people about what it is that they would need to pay attention to in order to stand out and in order to make them their career success, because you really know it through all the stages, which is, I think, what's really special.
Yeah, that is one thing I can say that I like when it comes to understanding dancers. I can kind of say I've lived on both sides of the spectrum. Like I've danced for years, almost 20 years, and now that I've transferred it, into becoming a choreographer, and now as well as creative direction and movement coaching and that sort of thing. Like that's a whole other creative process, a whole other different way of thinking. So yeah, like whatever I can share and whatever I can like.
And I think that as dancers, sometimes if they have not had much experience with choreographers or being on movie sets or being, part of a big cast, they don't quite understand what they need to prepare, how they need to position themselves, how, what they basically should demonstrate in order to be successful. They can be fabulous dancers, they can have incredible technique, but sometimes they don't quite understand what it is that they need to show in order to be cast, or so I think these types of interviews are very helpful to performers to know what they should focus on. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to just run through some questions, some burning questions that I have for you, and I think everybody's excited to hear them. So number one, what is your specialty when it comes to the commercial dance world, and what are some of your biggest accomplishments? So you did run through some of your accomplishments already, but if you have something to add to that, go ahead.
Okay. So my specialty when it comes to the commercial dance world would be hip hop. So hip hop is my specialty, or urban styles. I do a little bit of house, a little bit of a dance hall. I love dance hall. I have come from a Jamaican background, so
fantastic. We actually did a fabulous dance hall submission just yesterday, which I was thrilled about.
Oh, really? Amazing.
So
yes, that's great.
I'm pretty excited, yeah.
Great. That's wonderful. Yeah. So that's my, I would say my area of expertise is more urban styles. And then like commercial dance wise, like what I try to do is I try to determine, depending on what the job is, I try to determine like, what kind of movement the job requires. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm given a certain job, whether it's a music video, a scene in a show, or, you know, it could just, whatever the job is. What I try to do is I find whatever that movement is that suits that particular job the best. Do you know what I mean? So that being said,
vision, right, for sort of seeing and knowing what it is that's going to relay that feeling or that goal.
Yeah, exactly. So it's determining that first, right? Determining what kind of movement do we need. You know what I mean? And that to me is a specialty of mine in terms of commercial dance. Like, let's figure out, okay, what do we need to do for this particular job? And then finding common movement that all dancers can do, regardless of age or size or ethnicity. That's what makes it commercial, right? It gives it the commercial feel. So finding movement that translates well on camera, if it's for something that's not live, that is my specialty, you know, because sometimes people think, or I'd say dancers often think, especially younger ones, because I used to think like this too, that the more complicated your choreography is, the better it is. It's not
always the case. No,
not true, especially when less is more, especially when you're dealing with camera, right? When you're doing something on film, something on TV, you know, you want to do less, because the average person watching what you're doing probably doesn't know a lot about dance, and they're just going to see a flash of moves and all these different intricate, you know, things. And don't get me wrong, it's great for the right moment, but you need to be able to mix that with moments of simplicity,
clarity.
And there's a lot of beauty in that. There's a lot of beauty in clarity and simplicity. So that is my specialty. Again, I would say, going towards commercial dance, I try to look for finding that common ground for all these dancers to do, and that will translate on camera well. You know?
Interesting. And I'm sure that as producers that hire you to do a specific project, they're on a time schedule, right? They need things done quick, and they need you to decide what it is that's going to work or not work relatively quickly. And I think a lot of that's the challenge, because dance is creative by its nature, and creativity takes time. And I think once you've perfected that craft of finding that balance, then that it does become your specialty. You know? Right.
Exactly. That's pretty much it. And then in terms of, because I think your question was a two-part question. Sorry. Accomplishments. Oh man. I think my biggest, like a bucket list thing for me was to tour with an American artist. And I did that. I got to tour all across America. Actually, I went overseas with a couple artists too. So that was a huge accomplishment for me, just being able to work in America and being able to work for, you know, really cool recording artists, you know. Another major one for me was probably The Descendants. Disney's Descendants. That one was, there we go. That one was a big one for me, because that was my first Disney movie ever. And being able to say that I was part of the choreography team was amazing. And then at first I heard, and then I saw like hundreds of videos of kids all around the world doing the choreography from the movie. And
that was so rewarding.
Yeah. And seeing them happy and trying to go for it and killing it, and some, like, you know, just doing an, you know, incredible job. That the feeling you get from that is just, you know, that was pretty epic. So that was a big one for me.
And I think you as a creative, you know, you get to dream up a vision, and when you see it resonate with people, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what you want, right? Like, I mean, you know, there are so many different reasons why we dance, or why we like to dance, and some do it for, you know, as an outlet for emotion. Some do it for, you know, for therapeutic reasons or whatever. Some did, and most people, I would say, do it just because it makes them feel amazing. But literally, we're entertaining, right? We're entertaining people and each other, and, you know, so
emotion and
totally.
That sort of leads me in to, and by the way, guys, I'm just going to make a quick allude here quickly. If you do want to, I'm sure you guys already follow Mark, but if you do want to follow more and find out more about his works and what he's up to, he can be found on Instagram, Mark Samuels, at Mark Samuels, and email Mark at any point. He said he doesn't object, which is good.
Yeah, I love questions. I love questions.
There you go. Mr. Mark Samuels at gmail.com. And also his full bio is actually up on the DAT website as well. So if you guys would like to read up a little bit more about what he's accomplished, what he's up to, you can also go to the DAT website and find more information there. And I want to ensure that we're not overtaking Mark's day in any way.
No, not at all. I'm here for you guys.
Going through this. So I guess the next thing that I did want to ask is, why did you decide to get involved with the DAT project, and what interested you the most? This is our, our first one in the series. We are planning to have it as a series from A to Z.
Oh, amazing.
The exciting part. But this being the first one, what made you get involved, and maybe just talk about that.
Once I read that there were no limits or boundaries or borders, that struck a chord with me, because you don't get that from a competition sometimes. There's a lot of restrictions, and the fact that you're bringing this openness of be yourself, there are no limits, no borders, that immediately right away I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, really, I was just totally intrigued by that. So that was the first, I would say, thing that drew me into DAT.
Awesome. No, that's actually, I'm happy, because that was the reason that this project was born, really.
Amazing. Yeah. And like, to be completely honest, like, I'm at a point now where I'm kind of overseeing certain things. Like, I see a lot of the same type of choreography. You see a lot of classes that resemble one another. You hear a lot of the same music all the time. The movement is very similar. And so, I feel like a great outlet for dancers to explore creativity. And that, to me, is, I would say, one of the main reasons why I got involved, or what really made me, like I said, intrigued and wanted to know more, and, felt like I want to be attached to something where we can find and scout and see dancers doing different things, because I really feel like this dance world needs that.
And I'm so happy to hear that you're a proponent of that, because especially in being involved with TV and film and seeing, what works and what doesn't, sometimes, and we're going to get to this a little bit later in the webinar, but sometimes when you go too much out of the box, it actually is at a disadvantage, right? So I think some dancers, performers, circus artists, which that project is open for as well, they're sometimes scared to go outside of that boundary for not kind of being understood in their choreography and their expression. And because I'm speaking from experience being a competitive Latin dancer, and historically, we had very strict limits on what we could not do. And so what I found out once I did branch out into the more commercial world is I felt very limited. I felt like my skills were limited. Oh,
right. Okay. Yeah.
Not in the commercial world. I mean, the skill set that I got from
already
dancer was very limited, to the point where you had to force yourself to fuse genres now, to learn different types of movements. And I think particularly those dancers that very early on start to branch out and do, hip hop, jazz, ballet, flamenco, like everything, they're much more versatile. But sometimes they can't find that niche exactly where they need to go and where they can apply that skill. Right. And so I think what fueled the idea of the DAT project is that a hip hop performer who also knows ballet, for example, can demonstrate that and can start to fuse that in, and can, a flamenco dancer that has some jazz background, go for it, like create. Bodies are bodies, movement is movement, right?
Totally. I'm an advocate of that. Like, I love that. I really do.
Awesome.
So yeah, You hit it right on the money, right there, for sure.
Yeah.
Then just to quickly put out there too, what I like another thing that really attracted me to was the professionalism of what you're bringing, the quality, the branding, the marketing. It's very attractive. It's everything looks professional. Everything has got this like, it feels like there's a great deal of thought, a great deal of caring put into it. I'm sure a lot of money too, like there's a lot of effort being put into it, and you can see just from the branding and your marketing alone that there's a passion behind it, so keep that up. It looks really fantastic.
Well, thank you. That does mean a lot, because it's a project of the heart, that's for sure.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you. It looks fantastic.
Thank you. Well, that actually brings us right into what you mentioned about creativity and getting creative.
Mm-hmm.
This into the next question of what is creativity to you, being particularly an open-minded choreographer, dancer, performer, when expressed by a dancer?
Someone that's not afraid to be different, someone that's not afraid to try different things, like movement, obviously music, and as you mentioned earlier, like mixing styles, being able to take something that you might have been trained in really well, or that you feel like is your comfort zone, but then mixing it with another style, and just to see what that brings. That to me, I feel like is a good way of expressing creativity as a dancer. Exploring different ideas, right? Like to get your point across, whether that be using movement or even props, I feel like, like that, like, that is another kind of outlet to breathe creativity, and to like, to kind of like express it and just.
I guess it sort of challenges the performer as well. As soon as you throw a prop into the mix or some sort of object, because all of a sudden your visual is different for the viewer, but also their experience and interaction with it is different, right? So they get more creative.
You could tell also a dancer that has an imaginative. Did I say that? A mind. You know what I mean? That can like create a story on stage and really draw you into it, and be able to. And someone who's not afraid to step out of the box and being unnormal and unregular, like that sort of thing to me is creative, being able to have that thought process. I feel like is a skill that not a lot of dancers, especially at a young age, can find, right? But the earlier you start to do it, I feel like the more you stand out as a dancer. You know what I mean? And standing out in a good way, because you're not in this like pool of dancers that all do the same thing, that are, it just seems like a machine and a factory of dancers doing the exact same movement. And, people I know and I have worked with have been hired for specialty skills, and not just specialty skills, but a specialty in what they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've hired dancers that there's one girl that I hired that she's a contemporary dancer, but her contemporary was so, what's the word? It was like so grounded and just hit the accents of hip hop so nice that the combination was incredible. Like, and you look at something like that and you're like, oh my God, this is
eye-catching, right? Like you want to just watch.
Creative. Yeah.
I
Super
remember
creative.
I saw on YouTube somewhere, I apologize, I can't remember who it was exactly
No,
that I saw in the video, but it was a video, and it was a hip-hop dancer. He was partnering a ballerina.
mhm.
And that combination, oh my God,
I
like
love it.
it was incredible.
Yeah.
Because you just got to see his rough lines and like her softness, and it just made
Softness. Yeah, the texture difference is incredible.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I like a dancer that's not afraid to throw it out there, throw it all
Yeah.
out there, and who's also not afraid to throw it all out there and just go into their piece regardless of
Put you on full screen for just 1 sec, Mike. Keep talking.
yeah. Someone that doesn't really care about what the judges think, in a certain way. That's willing to just, leave their heart on the dance floor, leave their creative piece on the dance floor, and just go in there with the thought of like, you know what, I'm going to do my best. Yes, I do care about winning and doing good, but I also care about being creative and what I want to do, and kind of not even care about what we think. You know what I mean?
By like be true to what they are as an artist, because at the end of the day, we're all productive, right?
Yeah.
You like what I like, what Jeff likes, what Jennifer likes.
Yep.
We're all have our own vision, but if you're staying true to your craft and who you are as a performer, then that shows usually. But actually, that leads very well into my next question that I had for you, and I think this I'm intrigued to hear your response as well.
Okay.
What is your top criteria when selecting?
Sorry, get the phone. Anyway.
What is your top criteria when selecting a dancer that does stand out? So I guess maybe I can formulate the question a little differently, is how do you pinpoint a dancer that stands out, and what is that to you?
Number one is creativity. Just what we were talking about, like that to me. Like I said earlier, I'm just tired of seeing a lot of the same things. I'm just really am, and there's a place and a space for it for sure, and it's appreciated. I love it. I do love it. But if we're talking about, being different, creativity is like number one on my list. That is really why I was saying that's what drew me into the DAT project.
So I guess just in terms of any tips that you would share for dancers that are, submitting their audition videos, preparing their showpieces to audition, would you recommend, let's say, using more props, or being creative with music, or anything specific that you could maybe direct them to help expand their creativity, or what would spur?
Absolutely. Well, those two things for sure. Music, definitely, like a different choice of music, something that gives you different feelings. Props, I think, is pretty cool. I feel like a lot of people forget them. Don't really think about, I can use a prop. Like, I feel like sometimes that gets neglected, but it's really cool. There's a guy, oh my gosh. You know what? If whoever's listening, Instagram this guy, okay? His name is Daniel Cloud.
I'm going to do it as we speak.
Okay. His name is Daniel Cloud Campos. Incredible. Like, this guy is a storyteller on stage. Fantastic. All of his videos are incredibly creative.
I'm just going to pull it up actually for everyone to see.
He tells incredible stories, and he does it all by himself. So he's a solo artist. And by artist, I mean this guy gives you stories on stage. Just trust me. You just got to watch this guy.
So I'm going to just pull it up online.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are tuning in,
that's him.
Yeah.
That's him. That's him. I guarantee you're going to be highly entertained.
Huh. And you actually hit the nail on the head when you said there is a story from beginning to end.
Literally.
And sometimes, I know for me, well, I do a lot of like production work, right? But or specific showpieces, but I don't think so much technique, although that's obviously beautiful and fabulous and it enables you to do better things,
Totally.
but also so much about the story, because the way that you develop it in the beginning might surprise the viewer as to how you finish it.
Right, right, exactly.
I think you hit the nail on the head, and the story is such a vital point of what you're doing on stage.
Yeah, yeah, and being able to draw us into that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very helpful, actually.
Yeah, some other criteria for me is like emotion, feeling. It's almost as important as creativity. If I can, what I would love is if dancers came to the competition and performed, and I can feel what you want me to feel. I mean, if you're translating that feeling, and it's not just, you know, like know your routine down, know your routine completely down. So that way, like know all your steps, know exactly what you're doing. So you can focus more on the story, focus more on the emotion, because we all want to leave feeling something. You know what I mean? We all, as judges, we all want to be able to look on stage and not just be like, oh yeah, you know, her technique was great and she was wonderful in her lines, or, you know, like her extensions were great, or she was really hard when she hit this, which is fantastic. We do want that for sure. So know your choreography, but it's the feeling behind it. I want you to show me if you're in pain. I want to see your face in pain. If you're crying, like cry on stage, like leave the tears on stage. Like that to me is what is going to really take you to the next level as a dancer. Yeah. You know, emotion for me is a really big thing. Showing me like the belief in what you're doing. If you believe that the piece you're doing is a certain, makes you feel a certain way, you know, if you believe in it, we want you to make us believe in it. You know what I mean? And it's your job to make us believe what you want us to believe. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, like doing that, making us believe your piece is a hard thing to do, but
I think you're right in the sense that once you know your choreography, once you feel comfortable with it, and you, even if let's say you didn't choreograph it, or if you did choreograph it, right? There's different ways that people can be coming to the project. They could have other choreographers, but if you can own that piece and somehow make it your own, even if it was not your own choreography, that's so special, right? Because then it translates that you feel that piece.
Yeah, it's bringing a level of intensity to it as well, right? Bringing a level of, and by intensity, it doesn't necessarily mean hard, rough, powerful, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't mean that. It just means finding what that is in your piece and making it shine, you know, making it bright, and showing us, you know, at this section, I feel closed in, or I feel, you know, separated, or, you know, in another section, I feel alive and I'm strong and I'm, you know, I want to feel those different feelings.
So can we say also contrast would be a good tip?
Yeah.
So that it's not all the same feeling throughout the show, but you do have some emotion that you're taking the viewer through? Absolutely.
You don't want to make your routine feel monotone, right? Like just flat. You want to give it, take us on a roller coaster ride of emotions and movement, you know? And that brings it to, you know, use the stage, use the stage. I also I love when dancers use the entire stage, you know, not just plop, it's just me in the middle and I stay in the middle. Like take us, you know, allow us to move and look in a different place, you know, use the stage, fill it up with you.
Yeah.
Fill it up with your space.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because sometimes I remember being at a concert, mind you, I was really young, maybe 16 or 17, and I went to this concert, and this little girl, she was probably 10, smaller than me at the time, and it was this massive stage, huge, and she came out all by herself, and I'm going, wow, that's intimidating for a 10-year-old to go on the stage, but her energy just filled up the stage. Like you could feel it didn't matter the stage set, it didn't matter the decor, it didn't matter what she was wearing, it did not matter. She was so sold on what she was doing that, like, she walked the stage, she, you know, occupied the space, and you got goosebumps, and there was no extra fluff. It was just her and her powerful energy.
That's it.
And it was beautiful.
Someone that's willing to do the hard work and know your choreography, know your performance, you know, practice it over and over and over and over again. We're gonna feel it.
Yeah,
we're gonna feel it. So yeah.
I just noticed that Jeff tuned in and was watching us, and Jeff, hello to you as well. He said,
"Hey Jeff, I don't know if you're watching. Hi Jeff, miss you, bud."
Everybody knows each other in the dance world. I'm sure you guys
it's a small world. You know that too.
With Jeff,
yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess we will go right into our last question, which we sort of touched on, but again, to summarize for everybody that's watching, you know, the main tips that Mark wants to share is, you know, use the space, make us feel the emotion, take us through a roller coaster, don't be flat, get creative with props, with costuming, with music. If you can select the track that maybe also goes through a roller coaster of emotions versus just the same sort of beat. Storyline, you know, take us through a storyline, think creatively about that. Did I miss anything else, Mark? I just want to summarize the main points that we mentioned. Be creative, right?
No, I feel like that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And so with those that are keeping that in their mind and they're starting to get, you know, these ideas rolling and creativity rolling, is there such a thing as going too far out of the box? When it comes to, I think my line cut off, but when it comes to creativity, to the point where it can actually work against you, like, should they keep anything like that in mind?
Yes. First of all, that's a great question. That's a really good question. And I am on the fence with it, to be honest with you, because yes, I do think there is, to an extent, going too far out of the box. But I also do think that it is needed, you know, and there is no such thing as it, which is kind of weird. But I'll explain. Like, you know, in its most literal sense, like, dance is a freedom of expression, right? And who am I to really tell you what is good and what is not good, what is correct and what is not correct? This is your expression, you know, and your interpretation of movement. So is there such a thing as going outside of the box? It's your box. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Like, I can't tell you how to get out of your box, or if you want to stay in it. It's totally your box, and I respect you as a human being, showing me your art. Do you know what I'm saying? And therefore, I do feel like, whatever you do decide to do, I will already respect you for it, you know, for showing us who you are. Yeah. And there's, you know, nothing can take that away from you as a dancer, as a creator. You know, if you want to do something that's unconventional and that might not necessarily be something that has been seen before, which is what we're looking for. Right. We're looking for that creativity. We're all looking for a difference in movement, and we're looking for different things. I think it's fine. However, and here's the flip side to it, is that for this particular competition, because it's in a competitive setting, you have to take into consideration that you're dealing with judges and you're dealing with audience. So if you want to win, and if your goal is to win the prize, if your goal is to be number one, then there has to be some sort of crowd appeal, audience appeal, something that gets the crowd going and gets us like, whoa, you know. So if you're too far out the box and it's something that's unrelatable to the judges or to the audience, we might all kind of be there like, I don't know, that was a little
confused emotion, right?
Yeah, we'd be a little confused. And here's the thing, like, so long as you just have moments of these crowd appeal things, it doesn't have to be the whole thing is like, you know, like you're doing popular dance moves or, you know, things that people have seen or moves that have went viral and you want to throw them in your routine. Like you don't have to think like that. But what I would love is for someone to still create with the intention that this is a competition. And in order to create, I want to think, okay, I need to do things that the crowd is going to like. I need to do things that the judges are going to be like, okay, they're going to get this, they're going to understand it, you know?
Because I guess at the end of the day, it is about an energy exchange, right? So when you have an audience that's excited about your piece, they're applauding, they're cheering, and that in turn helps you and it helps the judges feel some atmosphere.
Absolutely. Very well
said. Your cause, right?
So it's a fine, very, very fine line for sure. You know, but just to have moments of that, moments of, okay, this might be, you know, let's say you're coming up with your piece and like, okay, this might be really different. And the judges might get it. They might not. It might be too different. Throw in some things in there that we will get.
Oh, that's a good tip, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Like only because if you want to win, you know, that's why you're part of this competition, right? Or partly, unless you just want to be creative and that's it. You don't even care about winning, which is also totally fine too. You know, if you want to just come and just be creative, go for it. Like, that's fantastic.
And I think that's actually also part of, you know, hopefully you guys see that this platform, part of the other reason why I did want to create the DAT Project is it's a platform for you guys to be exposed to just a broader audience.
Yeah, totally.
Whether it's in your discipline of dance or not.
Right.
Because we're sort of bringing all the different disciplines of dance together and all the, you know, different ballroom dance studios, Latin dance studios, jazz dance studios, hip hop dance studios are all paying attention.
Right.
You sort of get out, you know, your creativity in front of a different audience, which I hope is helpful to you guys, whether you win or you know, you get to the live audition round or not. I think all of it is a big part of the vision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good tip.
Yeah.
No, but that's great, Mark, and it's so good to hear that creativity is appreciated from a producer who's also in the commercial dance world scene, because sometimes, and I'll leave off with this, but sometimes
gets watered down.
Huh?
Sometimes we have to water things down.
Yes, and maybe this is actually better in the form of a question of, would you rather work with a dancer that can take instruction and direction very well and copy what it is that you are looking for him to do, or a dancer that not that sort of objects or challenges you with your vision,
right,
and brings some new ideas to the table? Let's say outside of this project, right? When you're working with somebody on a commercial, and you say, okay, this is the steps we want to do, go, bang, we're on a tight time schedule, go. And there's a dancer that says, well, actually, I think it would look better this way, and what do you think if I do this?
Right.
Like, what type of dancer would you more prefer to work with?
It depends on the job. It really depends on the job. I love that, though. I love like the question. Yeah, for me, it depends on the job. If the job calls for, you know, we want choreographed movement, like strictly choreographed movement, then I love a dancer that can take direction easily, you know, do it on the spot sort of thing. If I say, you know, you need to be here by 8, they're like, boom, I got it. I'll be there by 8, you know, and can work easily. And it's easy to get along with. That's every choreographer's dream. Literally, someone that's easy to get along with. You tell them what to do, they do it. It's fantastic. Now, if the job allows for room to be creative, and to, to try different things and to, fill the space of, we want this to feel a little, whatever it is, we just want it to feel like rough at first, but then it gets really soft, or, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I would hire specifically somebody that knows how to deliver different types of emotions, that knows how to perform on camera as well. Someone that is not afraid of the camera, knows their angles, knows their body, knows what will translate well. And I invite their input all the time.
Yeah.
Invite it all the time. I'd say, listen, you're the expert here. You tell me what feels good, or you tell me what you think would feel right to this particular part, and let's see how we can incorporate it with what they want.
That's awesome. You know what I mean? I actually had an interesting comment here from John Loomis, who's watching, and he said, mutual respect provides amazing creativity and collaboration, which, yes, I would agree with 100%. And there was another one
that is very true.
Conviction creates energy. That is also
very true. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. And dedication, right? Like being dedicated to it. Like I was saying, like kind of owning it and believing it.
Right. Yeah.
Believing what you're doing creates energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's fantastic. That's a great, thank you for the comments, John.
Yeah, thank you, John. I love it.
Yeah.
And so guys, look, before we let Mark go, I just want to remind everyone just real quick, I don't know how much you can see up there, but we do finally have our adjudicating panel finalized and our show host finalized, which we'll have also doing a live with us probably in 2020 already. But, we're thrilled to welcome Jeff Demetriou, Mark Samuels, Deborah Brown, Jennifer Nichols, and of course Patricia Jaggernaut from CP24 that's going to be the show host. The deadline, guys, to submit your audition videos is February 9th. And you can do so at the website, www.datproject.ca. I'm just going to bring it up on screen here so you could take a look. And as Mark said, the more creative you can get, the more expressive, think outside the box, fuse genres. Don't be afraid to, if you're a hip hop dancer and you know ballet, throw it in. Like, we would love to see that. Remember, there is no limits. You can, anything that's legal, you can do.
Right. And that's, like I said, this world needs different people. And it needs different movers and different dancers. And so, we've seen every genre of style. We've seen all of it. We know how hip hop looks. We know how contemporary looks. So, be different. Be different. Different is what's going to make you stand out, at least to me. Different is going to allow for me to be like, yeah, this person deserves a high mark because they're doing something that's not been done.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate, creativity.
And I'm sure it also inspires you in ways too, right? It gives you ideas and things like that.
Yeah, especially for certain jobs. And I start thinking like, instead of it being so conventional, let's mix certain styles, and being exposed to different dancers, would be great to see who I can possibly hire for something that, if they wanted to work, like, I think it's great. I think it's needed. It's needed. So yeah, don't be afraid to combine and try music. If there's a prop in mind too, I think that's fun.
Yeah, that's always a good. And guys, by the way, because a lot of you have messaged and asked about rules and regulations and sort of what the video should look like, all of that, that can all be found on the DAT Project website. So if you go to registration, you'll be able to register right on there. It takes you through all the 3 phases of the live audition, when that is, so February 23rd, when the registration submission deadline is, and of course the finale gala. And you can find all the rules on here. So in terms of submission, video submission rules, for each category. And of course, you can read more about our fabulous adjudicating panel on the site as well. So please feel free to check out the site. There's tons of information there for you that will be helpful before you submit. And well, Mark, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making the time, and we'll see you in February. Enjoy your holidays.
Got it. You too. Thank you for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching as well. And feel free to share this stream, tag fellow dancers that you think this information would be helpful for as well, so that they could get the same information as you. Remember, dance is collaborative. Although it's a competition, we are collaborative and helpful to each other. So yeah, do feel free to share it and tag your dancer friends. And guys, we'll see you in February. Mark, again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Bye.